Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Strand Tennis Center podcast, filled with tips, advice, tennis, not tennis, just life advice too, whatever you need. Like it on YouTube, share it on the podcast as well. Thank you. Welcome to the Strand Tennis Center podcast, everybody. We're going to do a little customer service one because I love it. Because I love serving the customer. I love being front-facing. It's very helpful. Here we go. A couple of things real quick. This will probably be an 8-minute, George. To properly serve the guests, you need 5 things. So if you're going to do anything in life, serving in life at home, this is good for not just if you're running a front-facing business. You have to have, number one, optimistic warmth. So that's genuine kindness and positivity. So if you're not warm and nice and happy to see people, you might as well, I don't know, work behind a computer in a cubicle or something. Don't talk to anybody. Number 2, you have to have intelligence. Not just smarts, but willing to learn. It's not just like being super smart, but you have to have, it's almost like street smarts and gut instincts and intelligence in reading people. You have to understand that when somebody's upset, when somebody needs something. There's a lot of moments when, years ago when I was working at the front desk, where it's, when you start a business, you start at the bottom, you do everything, you do every job, and somebody was walking out and they weren't happy, but they were just going to leave, and you could tell that they weren't going to say anything, and I reached out to them and dug in for information, and they've become a great client because I actually sensed that they weren't feeling good. You don't want to wait for the comment card. You don't want to wait for the complaint. You want to go ahead and reach out to them and figure out what's wrong, and that's very important. You got to have that EQ. Number 3, work ethic, obviously. A natural tendency to do something as well as it can be done. I mean, there's no substituting work ethic. There's no substituting saying, I'm going to do this one thing for 100 years and I'm going to do it really well. You'll really be successful. You outwork everybody. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. All you have to do is work harder than anybody else. I'm just looking at serves, George, as I do this podcast. This is get hit in the head. Remember last time, George, I got rocked in the head? Oh, it was a double fault. So number 5. Number 4, empathy. Empathy is very important. An awareness of how others feel and your actions and how they make them feel. This is part of unreasonable hospitality, which is fantastic. You have to have empathy. If you don't, you get very narcissistic because if you can't relate to somebody, you just be like, well, I don't care how you're feeling. I don't understand that you could feel this way. How could you feel this way? I could never feel that way. It doesn't matter. You have to show empathy, and you have to show. And if you can't, you should be in a different line of work. It's hard, really hard to teach empathy. That's a hard one. That's tough. Do you think you can teach empathy, George?
I think it starts with parenting.
Yeah, it's true.
Like if you don't have it by the time you're an adult,
yeah,
it might be a lost cause.
Yeah, there was that story about Gary Vaynerchuk. His mother said when he would open a door for an older person, his mother would give him such love. In other words, just showing, reinforcing, being empathetic, understanding this person's older and they can't open the door themselves, and saying, okay, even though I'm young, you should understand that. So there's so many times, so many stories when I remember like my father's like 90 something and he would get up out of his chair for 2 minutes and some kid would take his seat. I'm like the kid's like 8 and he's saying it is 10 and you should, it's like, it wasn't my kid, so I couldn't say, listen, you shouldn't do that. This is where you have to understand that grandpa's 91 and he can't be standing the whole time. But
I think that's usually a good test of, you're on a bus and old lady standing up, old man standing up, or pregnant woman, you offer the seat.
Yeah.
I think that's a good sign if you're in.
That's true. And the 5th one is self-awareness. So we went through 5 customer service things: optimistic warmth, intelligent, work ethic, empathy, self-awareness, and integrity. Understanding what makes you tick and a natural inclination to be accountable for doing the right thing. So what are you good at? What are you not good at? And what are other people better at than you? So make sure that the business is running right? If you have no self-awareness and you don't know that your actions are upsetting somebody, we've had some great people here, but they kind of treat everybody the same and they're not self-aware that some person's more sensitive than the other and they upset them or insult them or things like that. So self-awareness is very important. That's why like American Idol, all these shows are successful because people don't have self-awareness. They go on there and sing and they think they're, Mariah Carey or Beyonce, and they're terrible. And that's what makes it funny, because they have no self-awareness. So you don't want to be that person. You want to have the self-awareness to say, oh, this is what I'm good at. This is what somebody needs. And that just comes from listening to yourself and being honest with yourself when you get home and say, listen, I'm just not good at this, or I need a lot of work at this. And then we all make mistakes. We go over the 5 A's of mistake. This is from Danny Meyer from Setting the Table. We all make mistakes, but the problem is it's not making the mistake, it's how you handle the mistake. Too many times we blame other people, and you don't want to do that. So the 5 A's is awareness, acknowledgement, apology, action, additional generosity. So you have to be aware of the mistake. Some people make mistakes, they don't even realize it. Be aware of it, understand it. Something simple like we screw up a court booking and we mess it up and we didn't put it in. So we're aware of it, and then we have to acknowledge it. We have to tell the person we made a mistake, I'm sorry. Too many times it's like you don't want to admit a mistake, but if you do that, people will be understanding. And then 3, you have to apologize and say, we're sorry. And say, listen, we made this mistake, I am sorry. And then you take an action, right? So the action would be either you give them a lesson for free, or you do something, or you give something to them. You have to have an action. And then additional generosity, go beyond that, right? So go beyond, say, I'll give you 10 lessons for free, right? So that's the key. There was a great story, I think I said this on the podcast before. Somebody went to Chipotle or whatever. Somebody went somewhere to Panera or Chipotle, and they had a terrible experience. And they said, I really love Panera a lot better. So they said, you know what? I'm going to give you a gift card. But they didn't give a gift card to their restaurant. They gave it to Panera. And they said, you go to that place, I understand. That person became a loyal customer. So it's like saying that. Say you have a competitor, you make a mistake, you give a gift card to the competitor. You would think that's crazy, but that's empathy, right? And that's understanding, and that's additional generosity. So customer service, optimistic warmth, intelligence, worth ethic, empathy, self-awareness. Oh, that was close. Almost hit the water bottle. Thank God I have my water bottle. Nice shot. Awareness, this is the mistake, the 5 A's, acknowledgement, apology, action, additional generosity. If you can do those things, you'll be successful. Even in life, you have to apologize when you come home sometimes. You made a mistake, you got to do it. It's really hard. I have an ego too. It's hard to do it. It's hard to do it, but you got to do it. George, the answer is in the actions, buddy. Great to have you. Thanks. Hey, everybody. Hope you like the podcast. Please share it with your friends, anybody that you know, anybody that's into tennis, anybody that's into bettering themselves. Share it.